And welcome to News from the Pew, where we take the news from around the internet and distill it down to make it slightly less frightening. I'm your host, Rick Barrett, and joined as always by my panel, we got Steve Cunningham from Sensus Fidelium. We've got Mr. Jonathan Arrington, our mobile correspondent. And of course, we've got Fawaz Yazi, who is continuing his quest to unveil as many Catholic artists as possible for your enjoyment. So you definitely got to follow him on the gram, as the kids like to say, so you can get more of those people integrated into your playlist and supporting Catholic artists. So then also he's drinking, supposedly, I don't drink alcohol, so I can't comment, but delicious Tridentine Brewing from our man over there at Tridentine Brewing, obviously. What's the actual, it's a Blessed Carl brand, or?
Yeah, that's one of them, Blessed Carl, yeah, of Austria.
Yep, because we saw that. If you follow him on his Instagram, he's got a lot of pictures from the symposium a couple weeks ago, which looked like a lot of fun. But
the beer is great, by the way.
By the way, quick shout out for Charles Colomb, who is over his virus or his little ailment he was battling, but he had a real not rough, but chaotic couple of weeks. He flew to New Hampshire, then he flew back to Austria, then he flew back to Dallas to do some great presentations. So keep Sir Charles Colomb, in your prayers. But let's get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. Election season is very close. We're less than 2 weeks, I believe, away from the greatest election of all elections, the most important election of our lifetime, as some people like to call it. And of course, because politics are becoming more important again, elections are coming around, that just has to mean Hillary Clinton has to surface like the bad penny that she is to make herself more relevant. And that's what happened earlier this week when she just out of nowhere popped up with the strangest of accusations about right-wing conspiracies.
Indivisibles. I'm here to highlight something
Golly, she looks awful.
Is keeping me up at night.
We can tell.
And I know this group really understands what I'm about to say. I know we're all focused on the 2022 midterm elections, and they are incredibly important. But we also have to look ahead.
But they don't involve
because
me.
You know what? Our opponents certainly are. Right-wing extremists already have a plan to literally steal the next presidential election. And they're not making a secret of it.
Like the Hamburglar.
The right-wing controlled Supreme Court may be poised to rule on giving state legislatures, yes, you heard me that correctly, state legislatures the power to overturn presidential elections. Just think, if that happens, the 2024 presidential election could be decided not by the popular vote or even by the anachronistic Electoral College, but by state legislatures, many of them Republican-controlled.
The plebs.
But there's also good news in the face of this very real threat to democracy. Indivisible has launched Crush the Coup to make sure we're ready to defend democracy in 2024. They've put together a list of critical races in 6 key states and how you can get involved. Will you support Crush the Coup by donating to Indivisible and state legislature candidates?
What are you, 6 years old?
Each of these races is highly competitive, and your dollars could very well decide the winners and the winner of the next presidential election. This could not be more important or more urgent.
Now, the case she's referring to is SCOTUS case Moore v. Harper out of North Carolina, which would give state legislatures, the horror, yes, I know, the ability to actually decide, the actual election outcome in their state, kind of like what was supposed to be at the original U.S. Constitution as it was set up. But I do like the fact that Hillary Clinton not only reemerged from her hole to make it about her, because she's not running in 2022, so we got to talk about 2024. Then she accuses us of literally being the Hamburglar, stealing the ballots out of the actual boxes. And Steve, we'll go Steve John Fawaz. She made sure to say, donate $5 to me and I'll stop it.
This was an example of an approved conspiracy theory. I mentioned that last week with Matthias Desmond's book. He writes about approved and non-approved conspiracy theories. And Russia after Trump won or was elected or selected. I'm more convinced. I don't know if you saw the Veritas clip when they talked about the Arizona race, where they said basically they select these guys, they select different ones so that their guy will look much better with. I'll find that clip here in a minute. But it goes to just like it was our idea. Other people came up with it, but I know I've been talking about before, saying that I think Trump was the guy that after 8 years of Obama, you had to get that steam out of the kettle. And you released the steam out, and you had all those guys that were ticked off during the Obama days, the all those groups that were all uppity. If you would have gotten her 4 years after Obama, you would have had the same people going at it for 4 more years, maybe getting madder. But during those 4 years, the agenda still went the same way. But those groups that were yelling and got upset, you didn't hear from. It's kind of like that. Was it Code Pink? The anti-war group guys they took hibernations during 8 years of Obama, but before and after, they were all uppity. I don't know if you saw Jeffrey Sachs talking about we're in the middle, we're pretty close to nuclear war because the U.S. can't keep their head in their own business. He used a couple other choice words, which goes back to J.Q. Adams talking about that, saying that the U.S. doesn't go for
search of monsters
to slay, but we do. And then how many people during the 2020 election or selection 2016? How many electoral deniers? I think the one lady from Arizona called them out. Stacey Abrams didn't believe her election was valid. All these guys didn't believe the election was valid. And then the reporter goes, well, they conceded. Well, Trump left. He conceded that he lost. He didn't stick around and had the military come in. So all these guys, it's approved conspiracy theories across the board. You see Brandon talking about getting jabbed. Those are approved conspiracy theories. You can't talk about the other ones that actually come true, but you can talk about the approval ones that are allowed on mainstream media, and they keep talking out on comedy news or whatever, the late night shows and things like that. What you just saw, you can say, because they probably know that they're going to get creamed. Their team is going to get creamed in a week. And they're already using the excuse. Watch out. This is what's going to happen. Because we're the good guys. We should win because we know better. And you people, you dumb serfs, you don't know what's supposed to happen. So when you vote incorrectly, this is why that outcome happened. It's because Russia or outside influence, it did the elections. It's not because you people came over in local elections and actually wanted this or that. No. We know what's best for you. You want baby killing, you want sodomy, you want all these things. We know what's best for you. So they're setting it up because they know that what's going to happen, and this is what's going to come up, and then they're going to be screeching about this for the next 2 years. Just watch it play out.
Yep, that's exactly it. And I think I'm not muted for once. I was just, obviously I'm ready to go. It's in such a professional manner. John, the whole point of this you have these leaders, I hate air quotes, but I had to do it there, are leaders like Hillary Clinton. In a just society, she would not even be a politician, but let's just say she exists. She would not be allowed to, at her ancient age, with a fresh, obviously it looked like a fresh quart of adrenochrome, come back out and talk about how these people are the bad guys. And let's all be honest, she's setting the table for a 2024 run with that kind of talk. But John, it's just a mirror of the fact that we live in this unjust society and we have to deal with people like this.
Yeah, Rick, you just nailed it, my friend, by saying unjust, because, I mean, I should really defer to Fawaz on this, but, just to borrow from his push about the virtues, one of the cardinal virtues, justice, to render to each his due. if we and to borrow from you and Steve, talking about the importance of the local polity more so than the so-called national polity. If we had true subsidiarity here in the United States, so-called United States of America, then people like Hillary would, because of her disastrous record, all right, they would have been forcibly taken care of. You know, you should say with force, they would have been taken care of by those who were so harmed by their people like her and her husband's policies. Even though I think, as Tucker Carlson's remarked within the last week or so, you know, you look back at some of the things Bill Clinton was allowed to say, so to speak, in the 90s, and you think, boy, no Democrat get away with saying that nowadays. But I mean, you're essentially the way you laid it out, and what Steve was saying is spot on, right? I mean, because Hillary can get away with saying this, and she's going to keep saying it in order to, probably prep herself for another run or something. But I'd say probably the saddest thing about all this is that any sort of media cares. It really shows you that I guess you'd say the other side even stomachs her appearance anymore. I mean, after how much she's humiliated herself, and gosh, you kind of want to say it too, been humiliated by her husband's own actions, not just when he was in the White House, but at other times as well. You pray for her soul is about all you can do at this point. But I mean, you're right. It's about this death cult that I was just thinking about today as I was looking at some of the clips of Fetterman. Hillary, to a certain extent, is like that with her rambling nature, even though she's a little bit more coherent than Biden or Fetterman, slightly more so. It's hard to get worse there. But it's really odd that the group that is so for killing babies and really for euthanasia as well, we don't want to forget that, would allow such nincompoops, such people who are clearly out of their intellectual prime, or if they ever had an intellectual prime, to really be kind of the folks on whom there's a spotlight in the Democratic Party. So it's as bad as the Republicans are, it's probably the greater indictment, I think, is just how crazy the Democrats are allowed to be. I mean, even back in, the Athens of Socrates' day, which had its own problems there with this, crazy focus on democracy, so-called democracy. Still, I think there was a little bit of a check and a balance there by being a somewhat smaller and close-knit society. And we don't have that. So people like Hillary and Fetterman and Kamala and Biden are allowed to just go on talking and somehow, fill the airwaves with their mess. So it's an indictment on what our society has become, and so somewhat an indictment on us too.
In case you wanted to, John referenced John Fetterman. This was just a sample of his performance on Tuesday night at his debate with Dr.
I do
Oz.
want to clarify something. You're saying tonight that you support fracking, that you've always supported fracking, but there is that 2018 interview that you said, quote, "I don't support fracking at all." So how do you square the two?
Glitch.
Oh, I do support fracking, and I support fracking, and I stand, and I do support fracking.
Okay. Thank you, Mr.
Thanks, buddy.
Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you for that.
You're running for a seat that could decide the balance of power in Washington. What qualifies you to be a U.S. Senator? You have 60 seconds.
Hi, good night, everybody. I'm running to serve Pennsylvania. He's running to use Pennsylvania.
You saw, I think Schumer and told Brandon today, "Hey, that debate didn't hurt us."
Yeah, flaws with politicians like this. Who needs enemies?
Well, all I know is the Eagles are so much better than the Eagles, to quote the great John Fetterman. Here's my problem with Hillary's statement, and I think the statement of a lot of those folks were talking about we have to save democracy, which is a bunch of baloney. When they say save democracy, what they're really saying is we want to keep the status quo, which helps us win. Because I think most people, I think, don't I don't know if they paid attention or not, but I've looked at each state. We have Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, I think even Arizona. They have kind of tightened up some of those loose bolts when in 2020. The legislatures they've put into their states that you can't do the mail-in ballot free mail-in ballots like everyone was doing in 2020 anymore. So that kind of took that away from the Democrats. So when they say, we're talking about people who are saying we got to save democracy. So this is what they're really saying. We must save democracy by destroying democracy so that we can save the same democracy that we just destroyed. Because if we lived in democracy, you wouldn't be invading or raiding your political opponent's home and finding every possible way for him not to run because you know that he's actually gained in popularity while you have lost in popularity. Because guess what? You're not really looking for the American people. Why? Because all of your policies and agendas only benefit the globalists. They don't benefit the U.S. So I think people are starting to wake up. I saw a poll recently that Catholics, I think for the first time in a long time, across the board, are now kind of flipping towards the Republican Party versus the Democrat, including Hispanics. So the Catholic vote is a very important vote in politics. It's actually, if you go back even the 90s, I think Bill Clinton was the one who said, we got to poll the Catholics to see where they stand on contraception because their vote is extremely important. So even here in the U.S., you have the Catholics kind of shifting over, saying, I don't want this transgender, this mutilation of children, all of these agendas that they're pushing. But what are they really for? They're talking about are these things like, the economy will be worse than the Republicans. Well, people remember what happened between 2016 and 2020. The economy was better. People were doing better. It wasn't the main question. We didn't have the inflation that we had today. So that's my biggest issue with her statement is that we want to stop the coup. The only coup that I see is the fact that you raided and trying to stop your political opponent who has a very high popularity, who could possibly win. If you think this is bad for the Democrats in 2022, 2024 is going to be worse with redistricting and who's going to be up for re-election in the Senate. If they end up losing 52 to 48 in the Senate, by 2024, you're looking at maybe 56, 57 seats even in the Senate. That's how bad it is. And if Trump comes back in 2024, you're talking about a supermajority in the Senate, majority in the House, and the White House with his new agenda that he wanted to complete. That would really hurt them. So, yeah, they're worried. Schumer said the same thing today to Biden in a hot mic. He said, we're in danger. Luckily, he said the debate didn't hurt us that much. But I think it hurt them enough that I think they're going to lose that seat, to be honest with you. And if they don't, then I say it's like if you're going to pick that guy to do anything, we got a problem. I'm not an Oz fan at all, but I'll take him over Fetterman.
55.
I agree.
It goes back to what we talked about before. The GOP is the stupid party. I mean, this shouldn't be even close.
No.
I mean, you should be able to run out somebody off the street that's sitting outside Hardee's right now and beat Fetterman. But they got Dr. Oz, who's is terrible. That's the guy that doesn't even live there. No. And he doesn't even know how to speak the language of the Pennsylvanians, doesn't know anything about Pennsylvania. That's your guy? Like Herschel Walker in Georgia. Should be a blowout. But they get these. They
get the name brand.
Yeah, it's idiocracy on steroids. If you watch the movie, you're living that movie.
I kind of hope we get nothing.
We'll be president one day.
I hope we get nothing but reality TV stars and athletes in the Senate from now on. I think that would be just worthy of us. John, you want to jump in with something before?
We just made a mockery of the whole White House.
Exactly. John.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, when Fawaz was talking, it struck me as he's talking about the ridiculous nature of Hillary's quotes on democracy, so-called. I mean, it may seem like more of an academic point, but I promise you it has to do with what that famous philosopher Joseph Pieper, whom Benedict loved a lot and is a great Thomistic philosopher. He's got this book, small, thin book from Ignatius called Abuse of Language, Abuse of Power. And it's had me thinking ever since I was a brand new convert back in 2001, 2002, about the importance of precise use of language. So the word democracy, the sense that we get of it when we hear the word democracy is we think power of the people, right? You know, that is not what the word really meant to the Greeks. It's not what the word is ever really meant to convey to those who are kind of the Illuminati. I mean, seriously, those who know what's going on. A deme in ancient Greece is a like a neighborhood. It's like a group of people. You might even say a suburb if you want to kind of take the Martha's Vineyard view of American reality. It is the power of a restricted few. It is not the power of the people, the public, in any sort of broad sense in which Americans usually think of when they hear the word democracy. So, I don't want to attribute a knowledge of ancient Greek philosophical terms to the Democrats. I think, as Tucker Carlson usually says, they're too stupid for that. But Satan is brilliant enough to kind of know how these things work. And so he knows what democracy, even just the word democracy, inspires in most modern Western minds. And it's not the reality. It never has been the reality. It wasn't that reality when Socrates was around. And it's a farce. It is truly, as the Greek word suggests, it's the power of a restricted few. It's the power of a certain neighborhood. So whether you want to call it the swamp in D.C. or the Martha's Vineyard vacation crowd, that's what it is. It's what it always has been. And they are truly the ones who have no qualms about saying, we are after the libido dominandi. We're after dominating people. You get them in their more cohesive, saner moments, and they'll admit that to you. That is what democracy has always really meant. It's just they've allowed, we've allowed, I got to say too, it's on us. We've allowed the term to kind of be co-opted by their side, and not for the better. So just a quick little, philosophical bit there.
And the piggyback on what Jonathan said, you can see that after Lincoln's War of Northern Aggression is the Yankee attitude, is the Yankees mindset of pushing their will on the South. We want it this way. You're going to live this way. Look at it today. You got New York and California telling the rest of us, you must live like us. Yeah, California upset about Texas. Gruesome Newsom sent out a tweet the other day about how Texas are living. Dude, worry about your state. New York upset about what other people are doing. You got guys that are sending money to other governors across the land. If we worry about our own state, black locally, link locally, federalism, you wouldn't have that problem. But like Jonathan was talking about, the few are this little section, and that's the Yankee mindset trying to control the South. You got to get rid of these guys down here. You got to get rid of these people. There were a bunch of traitors, even though you say we're talking about in 1860. Oh, well, you talking about the same guys that in 1776 you celebrate on the 4th of July for doing the same thing to England? You don't like that because of what they were representing, the state right idea. What, slavery? About 5? You look in the book, Politically Incorrect Guide to the South in the Civil War. They show the stats. It's like 5%, 10% owned slaves. Less than 3% in the entire Deep South own more than 5 or 10. It's like cars. How many people own a car? You can't own 20, 30 cars. And then now it's saying that most people have cars nowadays, but at that time, the value of that was incredible. Not everyone had a plantation. And you're telling me 600,000 people owned a slave or going to war to own it? No, they were worried about people taking away their way of living. And you see that in the elections going on. We're going to make you live this way. It's about killing babies, doggone it. We want you to kill more of them. And for you to take that right away, heaven forfend that. But their message is getting through because they have the zeal and the fire. Rick brought it up the other day. And was it Texas? You guys are having some kind of party for
the Texas Right to Life brought in Kayleigh McEnany and charged $100 to come hear her speak about the victories of the Dobbs decision.
Yeah, and meanwhile, this is going on TV right now.
It's the only time you see a white family on TV.
Weird. He is weird, but cute. Gross.
Mary Anderson?
Hide the dog.
I have a warrant for your arrest.
Arrest for what?
Penal Code 243 violation. Unlawful termination of a pregnancy.
You gotta be kidding me.
That is my personal business.
That's for the courts to decide, ma'am. Your medical records have been subpoenaed, and Dr. Landry's already in custody.
No, my God, you can't just.
You will have to submit to a physical examination.
What? By who?
No one's touching
Sir,
my wife.
get that! Ma'am, turn around.
Oh my God.
Put your
That's
hands
the baby
behind
to
your
kill him? I
back.
don't get it.
Now.
Why is this happening? Love you, honey bear.
We're just enforcing the law here.
Elections have consequences. Vote Democrat on November 8th. Stop Republicans from criminalizing abortion everywhere. Protect women's rights and freedom.
Please don't do this.
Yeah. First of all, I thought liberals were supposed to be better actors because that was some of the worst acting I've ever seen in my life.
But it'll be
Secondly, like I'm almost sitting here going, I might agree with any of that, but that's neither here nor there. But you're right, Steve. They have the money into the propaganda, the fear propaganda, fear, fear, fear. They're going to break down your house, even though that's happening to pro-life leaders on Sunday mornings, except that the pro-life leaders aren't getting the respect of a knock on the door. The door's getting booted in, and AR-15s are getting shoved in their face in front of kids.
Goes back to Hillary.
What?
The approved conspiracy theory.
Yep.
If what's his face Infowars, $2 trillion they're trying to push out of him for just talking about a shooting in an elementary school. He didn't say it. He didn't do anything else besides talk about it. But they're going after it. Whereas on the other side, you could do anything. You could bomb the the Middle East and be totally cool with that. You can tell somebody that this some kind of something that goes in your arm is totally fine, but you say it's bad or maybe killing people. No, you got to be eliminated from the planet. It's okay when we do.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I don't know if Waz or John have any comments on the abortion video and the amazing propaganda that was pushed there. But if not, we can move on to the government clip with the governors.
I don't have a uterus, so I can't speak about it.
Right now, you could always identify something else, and then boom, you're in the conversation.
Maybe next show. I could next show.
Keep the beard when you do, though, because that's going to be perfect. That's
So
exactly.
I got about 3 clips from gubernatorial races. Here's South Carolina.
Want to teach the children? How do we want to teach? Do you want to teach them that recreational marijuana is great? Just go out and smoke a joint, or that voting on sports contests and horse racing? I mean, I think we got to be serious.
That sounds like a great Saturday night.
Yeah, but sport, you can have a lot of freedom without having an organized sports betting thing in South Carolina. I mean, that's gambling. A lot of people are opposed to it. And recreational marijuana, those are not the answers to the problems in South Carolina.
It's a huge moment for Gretchen Whitmer. She had the opportunity to answer to parents, to try to appease parents when they looked at her cruel COVID policies and saw that she locked our kids out. And now we see these test scores that have Michigan in the bottom 10 in the nation. And she decided to, instead of talking about it, try to gaslight parents and say, no, I didn't actually have your kids out of school. Across the state today, parents are appalled. This was her opportunity to try to win parents back. And she decided to say nothing about it. She decided to lie about it. But even worse, Sean, she came out and she attacked me for talking about parents' concerns about books in school. She actually mocked parents and said books are not dangerous. Can you imagine? When I was on your program just last week, we talked about the fact that Democrat parents are rising up and saying they don't like this sex and smut in schools. They don't like the sex and gender theory in their schools. And she made fun of them last night on the debate stage. It is absolutely shocking, her performance. But today, Democrats are rushing to her rescue. That's why we need folks out there to support.
And I don't have the New York clip, but she apparently the GOPer is beating
Zeldin
with her Hochul up in New York. So she's losing to a GOPer in New York.
Yeah, well, she's awful. She's an awful human being. That's why. And she doubled down on the COVID stuff.
Apparently the New Yorkers are doing their own "Let's Go Brandon" for her now.
I mean, I'd be more than happy for them to do so. But she doubled down. She said she would do it all again, even after the New York State Supreme Court was like, yeah, you have to rehire all the people that you tried to fire that were unvaxxed. And she's like, "Nah, I'm going to do it again if you reelect me." She's double, triple down on that kind of stuff. And then last but not least, let's get our dear leader, the Brandon of Brandons. And what is he saying about all this?
Democrats are going to protect the fundamental rights and freedoms like the right to choose, the right to privacy, the right to vote, our very democracy. Republicans have already introduced legislation that will ban abortion with no exceptions to rape or incest or the life of the mother in many places. At the same time, Republicans are threatening to take away the constitutional right to marry the person you love. Just look at the facts. You don't need to imagine anything this time around. Look at what they're saying, and they're saying it out loud for everybody to hear. Let's go back and see what we inherited from Trump and the mega Republicans when we won the election.
I wish they were more. The way they talk about that, I wish they were more outlandish. But we only get little bits here and there about, codify. What did we actually get, Steve? We got Lindsey Graham in South Carolina reintroducing abortion at the federal level when everybody's like, "Can you just stop, please?"
It's about money. It's about money and winning elections. Somebody on Twitter mentioned something. I can't remember what. Maybe it was Hochul talking about how she was upset, or she said never again would be the lockdowns. And it's, oh, look at her. She's all for us. And no, it's called winning elections. All these guys care about is winning. They don't care about anything else. You elect somebody, they want money and they want votes. They get them up there so they can get money coming from all the corporates, the lobbyists that come in, corporations that pay for them. It's that joke about we wish the politicians looked like the NASCAR guys to see who really owns them, because that's all it matters. They do not care about you. They care about winning the election. That's why, like we talked about Jonathan, and I said that before about Graham. Never in our lives have we ever heard Graham ever mention the word abortion. All of a sudden, he's the most pro-lifer. He wants to be the male Lilo Rose. No, he cares about getting the money back in his hands and getting the popular votes back, because they can't win without that political football back in the feds. Get it out of the state, get it into the states. That's where everything is. That's what, these elections coming up next week should be more important than any time the elected monarch is up for a vote. Should be your local state, your gubernatorial races, your local state elections. The Supreme Court, just like down here in North Carolina, the big push is the Supreme Court for North Carolina. There's just SCOTUS in D.C. shouldn't have anything to do with your 9 unelected tyrants in black robes. Shouldn't have anything to do with you. But we have judiciary, government by judiciary, as Berger writes about, or is it Dahant? He writes about in his book. So the local state ones, what they're pushing for, baby killing. Get these guys, and you will have the right to kill your baby. Right? Get these guys, and they'll end up eliminated. The Dems, like I said, don't like using two parties, because it's Pepsi versus Coke, and it's a two-party system, as Carlin said, and you ain't in it. It's one party, and you ain't in it. Now they're all about pushing baby killing, because that's the pulse of the world right now, or the people right now, and they will use that to their advantage to get people out. Saw it in Kansas. They're going to try to copycat that in every state or every local election to get what they want. And that's why I think by the end of the decade, every state will be a pro-death one, because these guys are hell bent on doing that. And we're, as Rick was talking about, these guys are partying up down in Texas. Well, these guys are focused, hell bent. Let's get people out to kill more babies by voting for it.
Yeah.
What's our plan? I don't know what our plan is. The local guys, the Belmont Abbey had a thing. What are we doing after pro? Goes back to what we talked about last week. How do you not have a plan? That should have been your number one target. And when that was executed and taken down, what's our plan? They should have that ready to go right now, but we don't. We got our pants down our ankles, caught off guard, and it's sad, but we're going to lose in this down the road, if not quicker.
No, I agree. Fawaz, do you have anything to add?
No, Steve said it great. In Kentucky we got Prop 2 coming, and you know what? I'm hopeful, because I'm telling you, I'm even driving down to the cities like Lexington where they're, out here, everybody's conservative. I'm in a college town, but there's signs everywhere on yes on two, yes for Prop 2. So that same group that was in Kansas is actually here. They've raised $3 million in Kentucky trying to kill that bill. But I don't know if you're gonna beat the will of the people here, because I think most of the folks here are Southern Baptists and they're more pro-life. So pray for us.
The evangelicals always come out. That's one thing I always give them credit for. Say what you want about evangelicals and Protestants, but every poll, every time you look at election results, they always pull that lever every time for pro-life and pro-life candidates. Meanwhile, Catholics are too busy arguing about, when does life begin? And when, my bishop says it's okay, your bishop's an idiot, and all this other kind of stuff that we have to deal with in that regard. So that's the elections coming up. I wanted to switch this one real quick. I know I'm dropping it on everybody, but I really wanted to get everybody's opinion on it. And it's the Blaze one I just sent to you, Steve. After pushing the jab for over 2 years, the leader of the conservative movement, I call him the Ben Father instead of the Godfather. The Ben Father says we were all lied to by everybody, except we weren't because everybody on this panel at least understood what it was. And Ben, taking his cue from the mainstream media,
Right.
and what I've been trying to tell people, that when he says, give me your subscription and I'll fight the liberal media or I'll fight the mainstream media, he's never been. He has been the poster child for what conservatism Inc. is. And the fact he's trying to run back on this is disgusting. I think anybody that pushed the jab in any way, shape, or form needs to be held accountable. And you can't just be like, well, I was lied to. Ben, you're supposed to be the smartest guy in the room. You're supposed, that's what you were advertised as, being the smartest guy in the room. But now, just like everybody else, Steve, they're all backtracking and trying to get out from under this, whether it's him, whether it's people in the CDC who are like, well, I didn't want the jab, we shouldn't have done the booster and all this. Everybody's trying to get away from it because coming down the line, it's going to be revealed that this stuff is deadly, and the myocarditis and all this other kind of stuff that's being forced on people.
Yeah, I want to say, kind of like going into if Christ the King wasn't this Sunday, it'd be the 21st Sunday after Pentecost, and it's on the unjust steward, unforgivable steward. So I want to be able to say, yeah, forgive the people. I'm all for that, forgiving the people that said that, and embracing them to our line of online of thinking, because there's the more people now that wake up out of it, great. And now, what are you going to do about it? On top of that, like a priest wrote me saying that he was at a diocesan meeting with other priests, and they were all going, maybe Father was right on this, because they were talking about the people that were dropping over because of getting an injection. And so, yeah, some people are coming to the right state of mind on this. Not enough, especially from the let's say the hierarchy of the church. Obviously, if those would start saying something, we'd be cooking with some chicken oil right now. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy that he said that, but he needed to go. I think he needed to go, hey, I was wrong, and maybe not tell everyone to go buy one of his sponsors in between his apology, which I try not to watch Ben a lot, because he just goes, so most of the time it's all about selling the product he's in on there. And yeah,
promo code product.
I'm a big Daily Wire guy, but yeah, he was big time in it, maybe because of the Jewish side that he comes from. And man, he's maybe I'm stepping on some tails on this. I know he's not a Catholic fan, and I don't know what the guys around like Matt Walsh are saying to him. Bishop Barron had a great chance to talk to him, and he dropped the ball. He fumbled at the 1 yard line with his interview with Shapiro. Remember that long ago? About a year ago. But yeah, a lot of these guys, more of it needs to come out. But I think the body count's going to be high in this winter. I just got this feeling. You see a lot more of it. Jay Wilderness, go check out his videos. He does a lot. He just did a music one last week. I didn't know so many guys in music are canceling their shows. I didn't know Fred Durst had a problem with Limp Bizkit. If for those back in the '90s and 2000s,
Limp Bizkit.
yeah. It is, yeah, the Nookie got him.
Yeah.
It's gonna the dark winter is coming. It's just I wish the hierarchy would get on board. I think Church Milton had a vortex on. I didn't get to see the whole thing, but I think there's a lot of bishops that are still pushing, requiring the injection still. And you're seeing a little more uptick with Brandon talking about a little bit more. Some governors are still pushing it. Some businesses are, which it's all coming to the social credit score eventually, which when that, again, that's just, all this was a preliminary for it. You couldn't speak out against the muzzle. How are you going to speak out against the jab? That was my thing at the beginning.
Absolutely. So John, the whole thing. Yeah. Thanks, Steve, for making me look like a jerk. Of course, I would be more than happy if Ben was legitimately sorry for this. But for me, it's hollow. It's absolutely hollow. It's a CYA maneuver that it's not popular anymore. And one thing I feel like the Daily Wire and Shapiro in particular needs to be on the popular thing. And this is what I'm going to throw to John. There's no principles there. And so when your conservative leader, once again with the air quotes, doesn't have any principles or values, it's really hard to have any kind of counter movement to what the diabolical is doing.
Yeah, you guys are all right. And I'll just kind of add some fuel to the flames here. Shapiro had even less reason to be so wrong because I'm trusting these sources who say they're inside there at the Daily Wire, that he had people telling him from the very beginning, folks who had the numbers, had the stats, had you could even say the scientific background to convince him of this, that this jab was a bad idea. I mean, it was rushed out, or else it was not rushed out because they were planning for it for a long time. Ergo, it had a whole host of other problems associated with it. He should have known better. And it seems almost certain that he did know better. So why did he still push it? The fact that this isn't really a mea culpa here. This is more like I see where as you guys have all said, I see where the winds are blowing now, and so I'm going to get my sail pointing in the right direction here. But you know what, Shapiro, I don't want to break. I'm not going to use, even though I think we could. I'm not going to use the kind of genetic card, the racial card, so to speak, against him. I'm not going to use anything else except to say that we've got two guys on the inside there. I don't ever watch this show, but whatever. Like, we know, at least we can kind of confront this in our own minds. We got folks who are on the Mass the Ages thing. Michael Knowles. We got a devout Catholic who's got a huge audience now thanks to his brilliant documentary. What is a Woman There? Matt Walsh. They ought to look at the facts here and see how late this so-called apology is coming out. They've got the clout. They've got the influence. They could still support their families if they had to break from Daily Wire, if there wasn't going to be some sort of true walk back here. Where are they? Where are our two Catholics on the inside, so-called, Michael Knowles and Matt Walsh? Do they want to, maybe add something, have some sort of clarifying moment here from Ben about all this? I mean, Ben's got all of his issues as we could talk about at other times, but I mean, really, eventually it comes back down to us Catholics, and Michael Knowles and Matt Walsh are not the only Catholics at the Daily Wire. But, someone maybe ought to confront Ben Shapiro. I know he's kind of the big name as of now, but I don't even really think he's the sharpest knife in that collection of knives there on the Daily Wire. So I think it's a sign of some of the weakness in the movement. I'm not going to. I shouldn't maybe have singled out those other two because I haven't heard them very often back down on some of the principles. But now would be a moment to really demand some sort of moral cohesiveness, where you say, you know what, so much for begging for more memberships right now, so much for covering my butt in other ways, but I was wrong, and here's why I was wrong. I mean, why were you so wrong when you clearly had some people in your ear telling you otherwise? I mean, I think we deserve some answers.
So Floss, piggybacking off of what John just said, it's that lack of humility that Shapiro cannot demonstrate. It's one thing to apologize, but if there's no humility, if there's no actual sorrow for it, instead of like, all right, I'm losing subs, so I got to come out here and say, oh, I was lied to, and I'll give you a promo code lied, and you can come back for half the price. You have that lack of humility from that guy at the top. And I can't speak about Knowles and I can't speak about Walsh because I do not know what they're in their heart, and I do not want to despise or disparage fellow Catholics. Although I will say it would be tough for me to work in an environment with a person at the top who is so blatantly outspoken about his opinions about our Lord and Savior.
Right.
So if Walsh and Knowles couldn't push back against that, they're definitely not going to be pushing back against something like this. Maybe.
No, I think you're right. I think there should have been some. I mean, let's think about it this way: Candace Owens is associating herself with Kanye, Yeezy. He's saying what he's saying, and now Shapiro is really going out against Kanye. So he's got no problem throwing his employee under the bus because of the stuff that they say about his community or his faith preference. But when he says something about our Lord, where are the others? Why aren't you defending Christ like he's defending his community? So I think you're right in that sense. And if people actually took the time to listen to what Kanye is really saying, I don't think people really understanding what he's really saying. Of course, who is it? Kanye is losing everything, banks and endorsements and money and all of that, and he's not backing down. So kudos to him for continuing to fight. And why weren't Michael Knowles and Matt Walsh more upfront when Ben did what he did? Maybe they want to keep their job. Maybe they think, like you have a lot of these bishops. They say, if I speak up, they're going to send me to a diocese that has about 30 people, and I won't make a difference in there. So some people will justify and they say, well, I'll keep my mouth shut and do my work here so I can have more audience. Some of the bishops have that mentality.
Mm-hmm.
But my problem with Ben has always been, I mean, he's a smart guy on some things. He understands. But my problem with Ben is he's your typical conservative, whatever you want to call him nowadays. I don't like the Conservative Party. I think it's a cowardice party. If we were playing, a friend of mine brought this up. If we were playing tug of war, and the whole purpose of a tug of war is you got to pull this side towards your side. What happens is the left keeps pulling, and the conservative side just stands there and moves an inch towards the left. And the next thing you know, we're just reiterating what the liberals wanted back in the 90s and early 2000s. So we're just inching more towards the left because we think conserving something is just standing there. No, you got to go back. You got to conserve. You got to go back and start to fight and push on the other side. And that's not what's happening with the Conservative Party. Like I said, in 20 years, we're gonna call ourselves George Floyd conservatives. That's how bad things are gonna get. So, yeah, that's my problem with Ben, and I guess Ben fell into miscommunication or misinformation because the CDC did say, remember that was the lady said at the UN, where she said that we never tested for transmission. That was so loud it echoed towards eternity. And now everybody's coming out saying this was never tested for transmission. What was the whole mandate for? And if you go back to the tweet that the CEO of Pfizer said in 2021, that this was 100%. He said, we tested it was 100% for transmission. So why isn't that guy deducted $2,500 off of PayPal for misinformation?
Yeah, that's a great setup. We'll go right into that. So today, once again, very nice transition for us. Thank you for doing my job for me. Today, what happened is that everybody on this panel predicted what would happen. PayPal, after just taking a couple of weeks to let the blowback happen, just said, and I actually give them credit because I thought they were going to lower the bar and come back in at like 1,000. maybe like 500. They're like, no, exact same thing. Boom. If you'd have misinformation for taking $2,500 out of your account. Oh, but I canceled my PayPal account. Except you heard people like Steve when you canceled your PayPal account. They still have Venmo. And the same day that they announced it, Venmo was going to be integrated into Amazon's payment systems. So, yeah, 0.5% of people canceled their PayPal account. And Amazon came in and said, don't worry, we got you, sweetheart. We're going to put you right here and you're going to be just fine because you're going to be part of the integrated establishment. So don't even worry about it. But once again, all that is setting up digital currency. But the fact that your pushbacks, your boycotts, your tweeting as hard as you could did nothing, Steve. It gave you 2 weeks of being like, yeah, we got them. And then they said, yeah, by the way, I'm surprised they didn't up to $3,000 just because they made them do more work.
From what I understand, it's more of a fraud. So there was a story, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, maybe a month, of people selling fraudulent products. I think it was on eBay or something. And so this is more, they were going after this. And so now if you're caught selling, say, like fake Jordans on your your page and you're linking it with PayPal, then you're going to get deducted the fine of $2,500. Looking at it more deep today, it didn't look like it's going after wrongthink. Now that's part of what's coming down in the big term of things. And I mentioned that last time in the trial balloon, just like with the no jab, no job in Australia about a year and a half ago. They did it. They got the outrage. They pulled it back. Now, it hasn't been set up de fide down there. It's still kind of happening, but it's not across the board. You don't get it. You're not eating. The idea is there, and the foundations are there, just like the foundations for this coming up. You sent me that link of MasterCard. Yep. I talked about that in Clown Planet before.
Yep.
MasterCard's
more than happy to tell you they're coming for you.
Yeah, they're doing this. It's coming out now. They also have in Canada the first carbon tracking Visa credit card to be launched in 2023. So this stuff is, call me a nutter, whatever you want. Garen doggone T, this stuff is coming down the pipe. You're going to have it whether you like it or not. So if you're outraged about the PayPal situation, about, by the way, when you think you're canceling PayPal, when you go, hey, I'm canceling the thing, and you get rid of the people you're helping, you're really canceling the people you send your patron of, that you're sending donations to, because PayPal is going to be fine. Let me know. I'll keep you on that. They're going to be good, but you're going to cancel out everybody else you're trying to help. Just a little, not that has happened in the last couple of weeks at all. I mean, it was the last week I had both my sponsorships go on. I got a strike by YouTube, and people were canceling PayPal left and right. Take that, PayPal. No, you're saying take that, Steve. So be careful what you're doing. But yeah, this is going to happen. So in a long sense, that's a good mindset to have. Oh no, what's that happen? But don't go to, I'm going to go sleep it off now watching the games this weekend, because 2025, maybe that's when these things start hitting. And then you're not allowed to buy food for you. So you better start getting your mindset on, how am I going to support my family? How am I going to pay for this? How am I going to buy a house? Well, you may not even be able to buy a house, because remember that whole you own nothing and be happy. That wasn't a Schwab quote. That's just the idea behind the reset in general. You don't need to buy a refrigerator. You can just rent it. You don't need to buy a car. You can just rent it. Because think about all these EVs. How are you going to buy it? You can't get how many people have a car. You're going to tell me you're going to first make them all trade in their car for an EV. How are you going to build all those EVs? You can't substitute 7 million cars for 7 million EVs overnight. It's just going to be SOL. You won't be able to drive. Maybe you'll have Uber or Lyft come pick you up. Maybe you'll have a rental.
Uber and Lyft have their own policies that you have to play by their rules, or they won't pick you up.
Yeah, the non-manned cars, maybe that's going to be. You don't need a driver. They already got that going on with Amazon non-manned delivery services. They've been working on this since I was doing Uber back in Colorado. 6 years ago. They were it was somewhere in Arizona. It was in Tempe, I think it was the main hub for it. So all this is just getting your mindset ready. They already got you paying by your phone. They already got you paying by digital. They already got you sending money to your friend via PayPal without you ever seeing a transaction being made in person. The dollar is not going to another bank because germs bad. So you already got the digital transformation going. There's no hard, tangible substance that you can actually feel coin-wise or gold or anything. It's all digital. So they already got your mindset. You know what? Digital currency is not a bad thing. Then they eliminate you from your job and you got a UBI, universal basic income, that's going to be set up that you can only spend X amount for this. You can't buy this. You have to use it by Y, so that you're going to get programmed to I got to use this by X amount of date or it's going to be gone. So there was a video, no, it was a sermon. The world you lived in 3 years ago is over and ain't coming back unless something drastic happens. Maybe, I don't know, like a consecration, maybe, I don't know. Because, they're trying to talk right now that they're trying to say that the Pope talking to, was it Macron talking to the Pope Francis to have him go talk to Putin and Biden going with him is supposed to be bring on the peace now. Now, France gave Ukraine plenty of money just after they got done doing that to help the war. And we got people over there ready to go in the war right now, boots on the ground. So it's just, don't focus on what you're seeing in the media. Prime example. I'll use this as my my crime room later. That looks bad, right? Priests and nuns watch porn online too, says Pope Francis. That's the headline or whatever they want you to read. You read the comments, it's terrible. You actually click the link.
Clickbait.
He doesn't say anything like that. He's telling people be warned of that. You got your smartphone, watch what you're searching for. You got to watch out for stuff like this. He's actually saying Catholic things.
That's also tapping into that YouTube culture, that click culture, where people are just been trained to overreact to anything that Francis says. So that's what that is.
Yeah. You can't say anything without people losing their mind. I've seen Catholics retweet this, going head down or head face palm, whatever. And people were dude, what has he said that's wrong? He's actually, if you click the links or do some due diligence and look to see what these guys talking about, you can go a little bit deeper. I know there's a popular Catholic YouTuber that talked about the meeting with the Holy Father, and out there there's a little bit more going on. But that's the world we live in right now. And but digital currency, that is coming. I don't know why no one is talking about that more and warning more about that. Priest, you're not going to get people's money. So you're not going to be able to maintain your lifestyle. You're not going to be able to eat yourself unless you're going to grow your own food. People aren't going to be able to drive to the parish. You're not going to be able to drive to mass. You're not going to be able to do a lot of buy food, go to the park, unless you got a bike or something, because you're going to have, as that social credit, that social thing with the Canada. This is just one of many.
Yep,
the big picture
it really is.
It's going to be ugly.
Yep, it will be. And that's kind of where we are at this point. That well, I mean, let's be real. A&M lost to South Carolina, which was ridiculous, Steve. And I don't know how we're ever going to be able to get past that. So why do we care about digital currency? We paid Jimbo Fisher $95 million to coach Texas A&M, and he can't even beat South Carolina. These are the more important issues of our time. Everything else will fix itself later.
Think about those guys that went into the game. Most of those guys 2 years ago didn't care about muzzling up. They would do it. CJ Hopkins talked about that survival. If they needed to get a jab to go into the game, guess what most of the people in the SEC would do? They would roll that up. They were happily. They would be you thought Deion Sanders was fast. They would roll that up so fast you could be blinded.
They get jabbed on the way into the game.
No problem. You want me to recycle more? You want me to do this? I will stop for giving money to whoever just so I can go to the game. So my score will be up there with it. You telling me I can't go to the game this week? I will make sure I'll be able to go. Yes, master. I will do what you tell me to do. It's going to go into the communist idea is slavery. So we're all going to be slaves one way. It's going to be the people that stand up to it that are going to be in front of the firing squads.
Right.
Yeah. That's completely perfect in that regard. because capitalism, communism are two sides of the same coin. It just depends on which one you want to be a slave to. So anybody who pushes like that Chick-fil-A you're drinking out of, but capitalism right there, sucker. Anyway, golden fries.
They
Waffle
cover
fries.
up so we don't get charged.
Yeah, that's the one
Protestant
sponsorship.
company.
Are you right next to a Hobby Lobby while you're at it? So you can definitely get us it off.
He did sell it to a trust the other day.
Yeah.
Why drink that when you can drink this?
Because I don't have any more.
I'll have them send you some more.
The wife gave away half the 12-pack they sent me to one of our friends. I'm going, why? He said you gave the good stuff.
Yeah, at least you guys get sent things. I don't get sent nothing, so it's okay. But that's okay. It's not like I'm asking for it anyway. But I already admitted I don't drink, so it's not a huge deal. I'm just making a big mess out of nothing. But speaking of a big mess out of nothing, Twitter is finally in the hands of Elon Musk, and of course the troller in chief did a perfect way to celebrate.
You can't help it. That's okay.
You have to let that sink in. This is the guy, ladies
I'll
and
believe
gentlemen.
it. If Census Fidelium has a Twitter account tomorrow, today's the 27th of Thursday. I was eliminated from Twitter long ago. If I'm back up tomorrow, I'm back. No one will care.
Boom.
I'll believe it. Or if Trump starts tweeting out, I believe it.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, it's not going to do anything. People are giving Elon way too much expectations to try and. First of all, saving Twitter means nothing in the long run. It'll just be another way to control things, this, that, and the other. And secondly, it's more of just he'll make it more profitable and then he'll just sell it, because I don't think he has an invested interest in Twitter long term. Because it's not first of all, Elon Musk is too ADD for his own good, where he's gonna have to go create like a flame-throwing robot or something else like that. But also,
he's also a 4IR guy.
What?
He's a 4IR guy too.
Yeah, I mean, he's all that kind of stuff. But this is the company that he's inheriting, Steve. If you want to play this TikTok, if people saw it today, this is a woman in tech. And you can, and I have thoughts about this on the other side.
Saw this.
There's audio too.
There's no wordy language on here, is there?
No, it's fine. I promise.
Except for yoga.
Employees. So this past week went to SF for the first time at a Twitter office, badged in. Honestly, took a moment to just soak everything in. What a blessing. Also started my morning off with an iced matcha from the pitch. Then I had a meeting, so quickly scheduled one of these little pod rooms, which were so cool. They're literally noise canceling. Took my meeting, got ready for lunch. Look how delicious this food looks. Oh my goodness, I was so overwhelmed. Then made my way down to the log cabin area. I don't know what this is, but it was really cool. Played some foosball with my friends.
Who's bought from the devil?
That's a nap room.
I found this really cool meditation room.
That's a nap room.
It was super neat. I didn't do any yoga, but they have this yoga room if you are a yogi, so also thought that was really cool. Had a couple more meetings in the afternoon, had a ton of projects that we needed to knock out, so went to a few went to the library to kind of get some more work done. Obviously had to have our afternoon coffee, so made some espresso, and then before leaving for the day had some red wine on.
They call that the Pelosi bar.
Went up to the rooftop and just honestly enjoyed the beautiful weather. So awesome trip.
This lady literally did 1 hour's worth of work in this video. How does a company like Twitter that doesn't make money on ads or anything have all of that capital for meals and wine bars and foosball and all that when nobody does any work? Secondly, it's all women. It's all women in all those pictures, by the way. Technology allowing them to do these pretty much useless jobs.
Honestly.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm. Yeah, this is literally the same thing.
I generally come in at least 15 minutes late. In the side door. That way Elbert can't see me. And then I just sort of space out for about an hour. By the way, space out? Yeah. But it looks like I'm working. I do that for probably no after lunch too. I'd say in a given week, I probably only do about 15 minutes of real.
He's a real go-getter.
That's exactly what she did. She came in, she got a drink, then she went to go do yoga, then she took a nap, then she took a 15-minute meeting, then she had lunch, then she took another 20-minute meeting, then she had a coffee, some wine, and went to the roof. What did you do?
And she was $60,000 probably.
What do you do here?
Third time, air quotes. Women in tech. That's what it is. You know what the difference between that company and a dude company? The dude company's in a basement with cockroaches and they're eating PB&J every day because they're trying to make that sucker survive. These people are blowing this money that they don't have because it's not. Twitter does not bring value anywhere. What does it create? Same with Facebook. If you got rid of them tomorrow, there would be no difference. Like if you got rid of a steel mill, that town suffers. Like this technology stuff and the money that they have, like PayPal, like Amazon,
right?
It's all fake, false money and giving these people jobs to make them feel like they're doing something. But there's no real contribution to society. And I'm obviously ranting about this. So Fawaz, I'm just going to shut up.
Oh man, no, I got nothing to say. It's just like the Office Space. When they interview the guys, they just say, what is it? What is it that you do here? Like nothing. So yeah, I mean, I got nothing to say. I will say something about what Steve said earlier when he was talking about that PayPal. He was talking about that you'll never get 3 years ago back, 2019 and before. And I would say, good. There was nothing good about that. That's what led us here. If we go back to that, the default is getting back to this. It's the same thing. There's no way to sugarcoat this anymore. It's just we're in a spiritual battle. The reading today, Steve brought it to my attention. And the Novus Ordo, the reading today, it's about putting on the breastplate. It's not about fighting, flesh and blood. It's about, fighting principalities and dominions. And we have a fight that is outside of this. And yeah, we are in the minority. And we are probably, we could get trampled. Right now, we know we're going to win at the end. But like Jericho, when they walked around, if we all grow in virtue, sanctify, and be patient with our crosses, and that God sends us, and be willing and have humility, and we start to pray, we will change hearts of leaders. We will change hearts of men, families. Fathers will be better. Families will increase. And then that way, when the suffering does come along, we'll be able to bear it. But it would not be in vain. We would bear it for our children, and our children will pick up the pieces and rebuild civilization, according to Christ the King, which is the Sunday. That is my hopeful message: is that there needs to be more prayer and fasting and abstinence and community, because other than that, you're just going to sit in your home. You're going to despair, and that's not okay.
Absolutely. So let's move on. Let's wrap up the program here with our saint of the week and our cry room. Either one of you gentlemen ready to go?
I can go.
All right.
Yeah,
Pause first.
I'm going to go with Ye. Saint things of the day. To lose everything, or potentially lose everything, and just deplete your resources to push a message out there for your people, and the fact that he's bringing up the elephant in the room that's been around for the longest time. The fact that he's bringing up that Black community, that's where Planned Parenthood was created. That's why Margaret Sanger did it, and he's bringing that to saying like we are murdering our own culture, because if you go back in the 30s and 40s, the Black community was very family oriented. Father was in the house. They were doing they're a little better, and then we have this whole what was it that what's his name pushed that president after Kennedy? He pushed that
Talking about he's from Texas. Oh,
Yeah,
golly. Yeah.
Yeah, he was pushing that initiative to help the ghettos, which made it worse because all you did was took the fathers out of the home, which is the whole key of fixing this. Is you have
Johnson,
virtually
President Johnson.
Johnson, yeah,
LBJ.
LBJ, you put good men back in the home to be good fathers who raise good sons. Then that's how you change it. It's within the family. The family unit is the staple of society. And you take that out. So he's right. So I'm gonna put him in the Saint of the Week. My cry room is going to be John Fetterman's wife. Not himself, but his wife. The fact that you are so power hungry that you're allowing your husband, who just suffered a stroke, to go through all of this, it shows your character.
That's a fantastic pick for those two. What do you got, Steve? Am I frozen or
No, I don't know
Steve
what's going
frozen?
on. Steve.
Steve frozen? I think Steve is frozen. All right. Well, Steve's hanging out there. I'll go. So I might as well step in. So for my cry room, I am going to throw in Shapiro. I know it's lazy,
Nice.
but sometimes you got to do what you got to do in that regard. So I'm just going to throw him in there, throw him into the cry room for obvious reasons. Now, my saint of the week, I don't know, outside of somebody like Yee, I really don't know who else is pushing back or really making that much noise that would necessitate having somebody like a saint of the week. So it looks like Steve's vacuum cleaner got him again. So we'll take. But I know I'm not really prepared in that regard. But that's, I guess. Yeah, no, I don't have a saint of the week because I'm the host and I don't need to have one. So that's fine. I think our there he is. He's reconnected.
I tried pulling up the video of his wife and the computer crashed.
Yeah, well, you know, she's scary. What do you want me to say? So there is that. But what do you got, Steve? I fumbled through mine. What do you got?
What'd you go with?
I don't have a saint of the week because I couldn't find anybody. But my cry room is Shapiro.
Well, I'll go with cry room. I mentioned those people that are taking the Holy Father's the New York Post headline and saying, that's what the Pope said without actually opening up the link. Just makes just the credits you a little bit more every time, but no one cares. Nobody calls them out. No one says anything because we're terrified to make enemies of anybody else that's not us. They can't be touched. They can't be saying anything. Oh, I'll just stop. And I guess saint of the day, those running for local office wanting to stop the what they see is coming down. Not obviously not the ones that are pushing, hey, I want to run to increase abortion. No, those ones that are running to try to help the future generation. Because like how Faraz was talking about, what I mentioned, yes, I'm 100% with him, because at the end of that sermon, Father says, it will be better. Yes, get rid of that past. You should be like, I want 2015 back. You should want it better than what it is. All right, we saw that crisis moment. That can go either way. The globalists can take it one way, or we could take it another way. In fact, we should be the globalists wanting to convert the globe to our way and make it a better way. But eventually, the reigning Immaculate Heart will come. It's a miracle will probably come one day that even atheists will have no doubt saying that happened. So people are saying the consecration that, hey, we're looking for anything to get this peace thing. I'm pretty convinced that you will know when that happened. No questions asked. It won't be something, hey man, did that happen? I don't know. Let's see. And look, there's peace in the BFF Chile or Chile. Yeah, you're not going to have to go searching underneath it. It's going to have to. It will be like an uppercut. You'll know. So yeah, just keep the faith, keep the hope alive. 3 cheers for joy. Yeah, we bring you some bad things, but we're smiling during it, laughing throughout this.
World is thy ship, my friend, and not thy home.
Suffer with joy.
You know what? This world is not the end game for us. So whatever happens, it's opportunities for grace. whether you can be an extraordinary or ordinary saint. The opportunities are there for grace.
Good point.
Just depends on whether you want to accept them or not, or if you want to bang out another couple awesome tweets. It's up to you in that regard. So thank you all for hanging out with us this week on News from the Pew. Like, subscribe, and share. And you can look at Steve's beautiful mug and the news.
Hit the wrong button.
I am your host, Rick Barrett. I hope you have a great, safe weekend. For those of you, I guess my unpopular opinion or my saint to, go if you want to celebrate Halloween or whatever, I don't think there's anything bad about tossing candy at some kids who are dressed up like Iron Man. I might be throwing a grenade as I end this show. But have a happy and safe All Hallows Eve and the glorious All Saints and All Souls Day coming up next week, because we'll talk to you after that. But now, always, and forever, Viva Cristo Rey.
And, well, before we log out, there was that one group with.
I ended the show, bro. What are you doing? I just hit the headline.
You brought up a subject.
I did toss a grenade out there before.
But there was a. Where is it?
Well, since we have the 5 seconds, I've never felt it was a bad thing if kids come up to you and you toss a candy bar at them.
No, Catholic Drive Time did a good interview.
I don't think that's a big deal. Now, the satanic stuff and the fact that ladies dress up all gross and stuff, that's awful. You should not be
quiet. Okay.
Well, you want? I hit you with the end line, and we're still here.
Catholic Drive Time did a great video with one of the priests from the fraternity on the origin of Halloween and how to celebrate. I thought it was a great interview. My brother said to me, it was fantastic. He talks about exactly what you were talking about, Rick. So I was giving you props if you quiet down.
I don't know how to take compliments, okay? I just don't.
But it reminded me of this. Go check that out. Catholic Drive Time. Great little interview here, 20 minutes long. And it gives you some tips on what to do this weekend.
Yeah.
Maybe get some Catholic cards, Catholic saint cards, miraculous medals, and pass them out to people. And if I'm going to be out of town in South Carolina doing a conference, they're giving me a table to pass out things there. Or I'd have a ton of stuff for Saturday night. It's Friday and Saturday this weekend. And guess when the neighborhood's doing it? It's Friday and Saturday this weekend. So I'll be in Greenville, South Kakalaki, if anybody's watching in Greenville. But yeah, check this video out. It was a great job.
All right. The show's over. I don't know how to end this.